We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team on Carlton.
What relevance does that have to our conference today? You may well ask yourself. I'll let you ponder that for 5 seconds because I've got a fellow in a puddle in the corner there just recuperating. Welcome to session 3, everyone. You're well fed. It's time to sit back, relax. We're at the halfway point of today's conference. The interest in presenting to you all this year was huge. So today's conference is absolutely massive. We could have doubled the number of presenters today very, very easily. We've kept the numbers as tight as we can, though, because Stewie's aim is always to give you quality and give you that ability to have that time with the explorers, the miners and the producers so you can ask the questions and have that one-on-one and perhaps go away with some information that other people don't have that could be helpful to you. Still a lot to hear, and that bit of music, going back to that bit of music, that is slightly traumatic for our first presenter in this break. In fact, we were a bit worried that our first presenter, George Bauk, wouldn't be able to speak today because he is, of course, what club was that we heard the song from? Can we say it out loud? Should we say that word out loud? Carlton supporter. He did just finish his last counselling session, though, I believe. So he's been told to focus on his successes. And, of course, his successes are Pvw Resources, which today had a little bit of this direction, but as we all know, you want to buy in when it's like that, don't you? Because there's a bit of upside there. So this man's going to have a chat to us about Pvw Resources, his success, led by a specialist team. They've got a proven track record in rare earths discovery and development, and that team is working to unlock significant new rare earth and gold discoveries at its flagship Tanami project in WA, and the results of that maiden drilling program, which was commenced in June. They did put a spring in the step of this Executive Director, George Bauk, originally. Let's make him welcome and see what he has to say to us. Put your hands together, everyone.
Well, I was going to thank Vertical Events for putting the event on, Stewie, Jason and Prue, but thank you very much. It is quite interesting going for the Carlton Footy Club and working in rare earths for the past 17 years. I think there's a lot of analogies, and sitting at the back of the stand, Carlton Collingwood, and losing by a point, and watching the way the share price has reacted to some results today has some analogy, similarities, if you like. But anyway, punch on, and we're going to be there next year to win the flag, as we will find the discovery at the Tanami. So today I wanted to talk about Pvw Resources, right place, right time, and right team. Listening to our introductory speaker from Argonaut, talked about focusing on your project, your people, and what you're up to. And if you've got a little bit of experience, you can throw in a little bit about the supply and demand. And given I've been in the rare earth industry for 17 years, I will share a few comments about the rare earth industry later in the presentation. Our standard disclaimer. So we're a diversified, well-funded explorer, a company with $9 million in the bank. And we have projects scattered across Western Australia, with the key project I want to talk to you about today being the Tanami. The Tanami project has an 18-kilometre corridor with very high prospective areas for rare earths and also gold. We've commenced drilling, and I'll take you through some of the results we put out today. And we've also got significant potential for gold. And we have a deep portfolio around the rest of the state. Shares on issue sub 100. Share price, I think sub 20, so it's a buy today. Market cap below $20 million and cash in the bank at 9. Major shareholders there of Jason Peterson, Lim Partners on the board, about 6% each. The top 100 holding about 64%. So our project's totally located in Western Australia, and we're about 90 kilometres from the Northern Minerals Browns Range project. We're looking for xenotime mineralisation, which is the host of the mineralisation at Browns Range. It's got the potential for an extensive hydrothermal unconformity-related system. We're looking at the contact between the PAR-G and the Kili. And the other great thing about this area, as remote as it is, we're located within a couple of kilometres of the Tanami Road, which over the past 9 months has been pledged about $900 million from the state and federal government to seal that road, which will be a significant benefit, obviously in production, but a significant benefit through exploration to adding a lot better access to that project. So what are the 3 key ingredients for discovery success that we're looking for? And again, I'll touch on it a bit later, but in our team, we have Robin Wilson, who was successful in leading the team at Browns Range to discover that Wolverine project, which, you know, is still deemed to be the best heavy rare earth deposit of its type in the world. And so we developed a model at Browns Range, which was looking at how and what we were looking for to find that project. And we've come up with our own model at the Tanami, which is looking for 3 key ingredients. The first ingredient is the right stratigraphy. The second one is the right style of mineralisation. And the third one is the right plumbing system. So we have found an 18-kilometre unconformity that is located on our project area right at butts the Western Australian Northern Territory border. And since we put a lot of effort into the exploration for the heavy rare earths back in the middle of last year, we've uncovered a number of these ingredients. And what we got to at the start of this drill program was we identified the first 2 obvious drill targets to go to is Castella and Watts Rise. And the reasons for those was their outstanding rock chips results on surface. It had the unconformity and it had faults and folds around that area. So it was an obvious place to start. So we started drilling at Castella and Watts Rise. That area there in the middle, which is covered around a red box, is where we'll be doing air core drilling where there's soil cover, transported soil. So you don't have the expression on surface. If you've got more than 30 centimetres of cover, things like airborne radiometrics don't help you identify good places to drill. So we'll be doing air core shallow drilling there to see if we can find xenotime mineralisation to give us an area for further targeting, if you like. So today we announced that Watts Rise in the northern part, which was our number 2 target, a contiguous area of mineralisation spreading over 380 metres by approximately 120 metres wide. The mineralisation is about between 10 and 110 metres below surface, and it's above the unconformity sitting in the Pargee sandstone. These results have come off the portable XRF, and we'll see these results come to market in the coming weeks. You can see some highlight numbers there of 26,000 parts per million yttrium, along with 2,500, etc. Now, we have to be very careful. They are from an XRF. They are in the lab, so we'll get confirmation about the final results. We can't convert them to TREO because it's early stage exploration for us in this area, and we're still coming to grips with what that total TREO looks like and what the percentage of yttrium is to the total. But we are looking at xenotime, and there's a typical range of xenotime being a yttrium phosphate that sits between 50 and 60% of the total TREO. So we've got excellent results. The other thing in the area is historically about 10 years ago, there was a number of outstanding gold drill results from surface and down to 60 metres, including 16 at 2.48, 12 metres at 1.5, 12 metres at 3. They're great drill results. You've got Black Cat Syndicate, who just bought the Coyote Gold Mine about 10 kilometres away from us, looking to refurbish the Coyote Mine. They're drilling for gold just north of us at the Bald Hill deposit. Between Bald Hill and the Coyote Mine is a haul road which runs within a couple of k's of where we're drilling. So the gold could end up being a nice buy one, get one free, if you like. I do recall in 2010 when there was a crisis and I was in Japan talking to the likes of Mitsubishi. Their view of the world with rare earths was they were always looking for a deposit where rare earths was a byproduct, because in their view, they could never see rare earths in a purist fashion ever make money on its own, looking for having other products support the revenue streams. And that's obviously evident in China when you look at the northern Chinese deposit, which is enriched with iron ore, and they historically had the benefit of getting revenue from their iron ore that supplemented their rare earth deposit. Sorry about this. Okay, so Again, that was a planned view of the mineralisation that we've uncovered at Watts Rise, and this is a 3D view. Having a look again, as I said, it's about 10 metres, going down about 110 metres. Results will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Really exciting. Being contiguous, it means we've found primary mineralisation. So yes, we've talked about rock chips at surface, but here we've found 380 metres of mineralisation above 1,000 ppm. If I go back to the early stages of drilling at Browns Range, Area 5 was somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 parts per million. So just to put it in perspective. So this is really encouraging. It tells you there's a lot of rare earths in the system somewhere here, and we now need to persevere and keep drilling in the area. So it is actually an exciting outcome for the first stage of drilling in this area. So Costello, which was our highest area of first priority, you can see here, these are some results in TREO. So with 9,500 ppm of TREO, 5,200. Now, these are heavy rare earths and not lights. Now, I know we try to make things very complicated in the rare earth space, but it's almost like nickel and copper, where you have the light rare earths, which are dominated in neodymium, praseodymium. You have the heavy rare earths, which are dominated in terbium and dysprosium. The ratio of value is, anytime roughly 2 to 1, if you like. So you shouldn't be looking at light rare earth projects and heavy rare earth projects and looking at the ppms in the same, because they have different value propositions. And dysprosium terbium is very high demand. And so we've got very good concentrations of dysprosium and terbium in these numbers, including 250 parts per million. To put that in perspective, the biggest source of heavy rare earths in the world comes out of China with their ionic clays. They run at about 800 parts per million total TREO. Their dysprosium is about 40 to 50 parts per million. So low grade dysprosium that's feeding the world. And these numbers, when you're looking at a hard rock xenotime project, are orders of magnitude above that. So these are the value propositions and why we're looking and hunting for an exciting next best Wolverine, if you like. So one thing we've learned, we've done the drilling, the RC drilling around Watts Rise and Costello. And so we're now undertaking a ground gravity survey around those two areas to give us better information and knowledge about the faults and folds there, to have a look at bigger traps so that we can have better targeting for our RC for our next round of drilling and hopefully uncover the El Dorado. So that's the next stage of work that's about to start in about 2 weeks' time. The guys will be on the ground and it's about a 3-week process. Just quickly, just another map highlighting where we are, but also that's the last 4 holes that were drilled by the previous owners of the Tanami project, leaving behind, I think, some pretty spectacular gold numbers, which all surround that Watts Rise area. So we're looking forward, fingers crossed, to getting some good gold results as we get these new batches of mineralisation back from the labs. So just briefly about rare earths. I know the Argonaut presenter said not to talk about it, but I'll share a few bits and pieces. You're seeing that to death. Again, you'll see a number of presenters. There are really 4 key elements that are driving the charge for rare earths: neodymium, praseodymium, terbium, and dysprosium. Again, what was said earlier today was need to understand your mineralisation, because historically there's only been 4 styles of mineralisation that have commercially produced rare earths. So you've got monazite and basnazite, which have produced the light rare earths and are producing them today in Australia, the US, and China. And then you've got the xenotime and the ionic clays, the xenotime out of the Northern Minerals Browns Range project, and the ionic clays largely out of China. In the southern part of China has been the biggest producer of those products. So that's just a 101. The permanent magnets are really driving the excitement of this industry. I started in rare earths in 2005 and 2010 back at Northern Minerals. It's amazing how everyone laughed at, what are you doing in rare earths? And now everyone's got a rare earth project. I don't usually have to pay for coffee. But this is some exciting news here. I think what's great on the Australian landscape is the $1 billion that Iluka was able to get from the Australian government to develop their refinery in Western Australia. So I just think that's really exciting news for the area. I said to someone today, that's actually exciting. Now you might think, how can a graph going down look exciting? That is unquestionably China manipulating the price, because they set the price of rare earths and they sure as hell don't want debt and equity markets to be driving new production outside of China. So this is classic behavior where they do not want a critical component of their industry being taken over by outside of China. So don't underestimate that that's being manipulated and going to make it harder for the rare earth companies outside of China. So believe it or not, that's a positive sign in a really messed up way. I'm glad I said that properly. I nearly said it badly. I looked a lot younger. That was before I started in the rare earth industry. Sure as hell made me older. But look, you know, between us, we actually have got a lot of experience. We've produced and sold rare earths on the global stage. So we have dealt with this stuff. We've built a project. Robin led a team to discover what is today still the best heavy rare earth project in the world, which is 90 kilometers north. So we've got a good process. We've got Carl there working with Robin. We have got a great focus on this. So don't feel despondent about what we've produced. We've got exciting results, and I feel that we're hopefully at the edge of the El Dorado. Colin was involved with helping form Northern Minerals and is with us at Pvw. Again, just quick 23 seconds. Xenotime. That is so important. A lot of rare earth projects, please ask people, are you sure you know your mineralogy? Whilst we knew it, we still had to go and do the work. And great project, great team. We've got cash in the bank. We're drilling underway, and we hope we deliver you a great outcome by Pvw. Thank you.
Geez, and he took no steps as well. I don't know about that, Mr. Bauk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Number 2. Has anyone actually done that right across the Tanami? 1,050. You've done it, Tom? I'm actually quite sad that they're going to bitumenise it. I know it's great for us in terms of mining, but geez, it's one hell of a ride. And Wolf Creek Crater's out that way as well too. So it's something to go and see and experience before they do bitumenise it. International Graphite's Phil Hearse is next up on stage with us this afternoon. They knew they'd have a lot to discuss when they booked this spot at the conference, sir, didn't you? Busy, busy, busy is your little team at the moment. Their pilot plant in Collie has been in full flight of late as they move towards their vision to create a vertically integrated battery anode production facility right here in WA. So to find out where everything is at, if it's something that you would like to come on board and invest in, would you please put your hands together and welcome founder and Chair Phil Hearse.
Thank you, Chrissy. My knees aren't up to this step here. I was just talking with my fellow director, Andy Warland, and Andy said to me, Phil, we're the only graphite company squeezed in between all these rare earths and lithium companies. And I said, that's because we're the ugly sister. And he said, no, we're not the ugly sister, we're the sleeping beauty. Well, given that there is some up to 10 times more graphite in a lithium ion battery So the one scary thing about these supply-demand curves is that, and this one's by Benchmark, our minerals intelligence, is that from about here, oh, sorry, go back, which is, how do I go back? I'm only an engineer. Is that, and which is the pointer, the little one? I won't worry, but the green button. Ah, beautiful, thank you. Is that from about 2026-27, the demand curve takes off like this, and this is all known supplies. Now, what it means to me is, where is this supply going to come from? You know, is it going to be commodity shortage that really holds up the battery industry and the EV industry? So our board, Matthew O'Kane from Comet and Andy Warland, they are our commercial corporate people with decades of experience behind them. Myself and Dave Pass, we're the technical people on the board, and the board is very much technically driven. Supporting us are the battery limits engineering team. We have partnerships with graphite technology companies in Germany, in the US, and we are getting equipment supply out of Canada. And for the 4 years that we've been working on this prior to listing, and still we have we believe, preeminent marketing graphite expert, a man called Chris Whiteley, who lives in Texas. And between us, it's a strong team that's taking it forward. We've got 165 million shares on issue. Market cap's around 55 million or so. We got $9 million in the bank, and 41% of the shares are controlled by the board and management, and which are all under 24 months of escrow. So I won't go into the slide too much because we've talked about it, but it's a really good place to be based in Western Australia. The fact that I can drive to both sites is so convenient. It's so great. And there has been so much government support. The federal government has it committed well over $200 million to a couple of the graphite companies, the proposed graphite developers last year. And we would like to think that's going to continue. The WA government has already awarded us a $2 million grant to help us establish our Collie facility. Just a little bit on the actual resource. It has been drilled out to an inferred resource at 15.6 million tonnes at 6%, or 2.5 million tonnes high grade zone contained therein at about 17%, which is very high grade. And that gives us a great kickoff. The exciting thing about this is that all of the previous work that was done was not done with the benefit of EM surveys. Those electromagnetic surveys, they're really good for identifying graphite targets. And there is such huge potential, we believe, to increase that resource. We're currently doing 7,000 metres until we got washed out down there of RC and diamond drill holes. And we will be announcing some of those results in the near future. So at Springdale, it's a simple operation. It's crushing, grinding, flotation to produce a concentrate of around about 95%. And then that'll be trucked to Collie for downstream processing. Now, at Collie, I'll just go back a step. So graphite, it has different value depending on the characteristics of the deposits, and particularly coarse flake graphite has it attracts a premium. Coarse flake graphite is used very much in making the foils for, like, every computer, every phone has got a heat sink foil in it, and that's the main use there. Our graphite is not coarse, it is fine, but the fine flake graphite is spot on for use in battery anode materials and industrial products. So our process, we will be at Collie receiving our graphite concentrates at around 95%. We will then be micronizing them, and to micronize them is to break down the size to around 10 to 20 micron type size. The next machine spheroidizes those. So what it does, if you can imagine, you've got like a sphere of very fine material. You then purify that to, it's got to be greater than 99.95% for battery anode applications. And the final step, which really adds the value, if you consider a spheroid of graphite like a golf ball with all its lumps and bumps, the coating smooths it all off. And so that in that smoothing, it makes it more conductive and a better battery material. At the same time, we're developing an industrial processing line that's micronizing and purifying, and that goes into all sorts of engineered products and conductive cathodes and lubricants, etc. Collie's turned out to be a terrific strategic decision. We're really well supported by the community, we're supported by the government, and with the changes that are happening in Collie with regard to the shutdown of the power stations, we're getting really a lot of support, and also we'll have good access to people. We have already installed our pilot plant. It is, I think, the only one of its kind in Australia, and it is there to demonstrate our capability to produce spheroidized and micronized graphite and to get that into the marketplace. We're originally, we are starting first off with imported feedstock until we get our Springdale mine up and running. So you can consider we got 3 lines of development. The first is feasibility studies for our Springdale mining and beneficiation project. The second is the development of a Collie industrial graphite production plant. And thirdly, feasibility studies for our Springdale Collie battery anode materials production. This table outlines our strategy. So our industrial products, we expect to have those online next year, our first line of that, and then we will expand that. That goes into, as I say, cathode conductive materials, polymers, specialist lubricants, engineered products, and it has a value of somewhere between, they have a value between $1,000 and about $5,000 a tonne. From Springdale, by 2024, we will be producing a concentrate. That concentrate, in our case, is worth about $700 to $800 a tonne. The value-adding step, the first value-adding step, is to convert it to purified spherical graphite, and that brings the value up to around $3,500 to $4,000 a tonne, albeit that you need about 2.2 tonne of feedstock for every tonne of battery anode material. And then the real cream is to coat that material, and then that same material increases in value to $8,000 plus per tonne. So looking through our strategy there, by 2024-25, we expect to be producing purified spherical graphite, and the following year or so, coated material. So our planning, our first drilling campaign, it started in June, and in fact, we have finished that, subject to the fact that we couldn't get quite through it because of the rain. First assay results will be out sometime in the next month. We expect to have an updated resource Q4 of this year, our pre-feasibility study completed by the middle of next year, definitive feasibility study by the end of next year, and then a finance investment decision in early 2024. On the Collie facilities, we've installed our pilot plant. We expect to have first product out in the near future. We we'll have a micronizing first line of production during the first half of 2023. Our pre-feas study up by the same time. Our definitive study by the end of 24, by the end of 23, sorry, by Q1 2024, and our finance investment decision shortly after that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for presenting your Sleeping Beauty to us today. Eddie Rigg from Argonaut opened our conference this morning, and closing, we've got Alex Tonks from, he's our corporate sponsor, or they are a corporate sponsor from CRU, and they've put together a presentation that's encompassing all you need to know in regards to the minerals supplying the modern world. And when he's finished, we're going to be drawing that bottle of Grange on behalf of our coffee sponsor, Cooper Partners. So make sure you put your name into the barrel when you go out for afternoon tea. Now, I know for some of you, this is actually your first Vertical Events conference. I'm not going to out you, but it's great that you've heard of us, and it's great that you've come along today. So to Alistair and Paul, wherever you might be sitting out there in the audience today, this is one that you said to me you were particularly interested in coming along and having a look at it. They've been a favourite for mine. If I was going to be so just shallow as to back a horse in a race because I liked its name, Dreadnought would be the horse that I would back. If I looked a little bit further into it with Dreadnought, I may even like it because of its skills and its stats. So Dreadnought Resources is up next. They're about to embark on a drilling campaign which may well deliver a number of nickel, copper and rare earth discoveries across its projects here in WA. This fellow that's come to join us up the front is Dean Tuck, and he's here to discuss what his team is doing to find the metals we need for the future. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who's come today. I have some long-term shareholders who've been with us for the last 2-3 years here in the audience. I'm sure there's a few people online as well, and of course I got Sam and Luke at our booth as well, so please come and harass them. It's fantastic to be back here at the Critical Metals Conference. I believe this time last year we were around 4 cents a share. It's talking about our good targets we had in front of us. We're on the cusp of a couple of discoveries, copper and cobalt and rare earths. Today, stand in front of you, we're about 12 cents a share. And we've just delivered not only further discovery on the copper cobalt in that last 12 months, we've also now discovered 2 rare earth discoveries next door to Hastings Yangibana operation. And as I hope to convince you and everyone today that we are going to continue doing what we say we're going to do. We're going to continue delivering discoveries. We're going to continue delivering resources, and we're going to deliver what we say we're going to do going forward for the next 12 to 24 months, for which we are fully funded for. It's a very exciting time to be with Dreadnought, and it's been a lot of fun the last 12, 24 months, and look forward to the ones coming forward. So I'll get this thingamajigger to work right. There we go. Disclaimers, company snapshots. I'll spend a lot of today talking about our critical metals projects. That's going to be focused primarily on Mangaroon, which we have our rare earth discoveries evolving. We also have our earn-in joint venture with First Quantum Minerals on our nickel, copper, and PGEs. And I'll also touch on our projects in the Kimberley, where this time last year we made a high-grade copper, cobalt, silver, gold discovery, and potentially a new province up there. So very exciting projects, all very dominated in the critical metals space. As we say here at Dreadnought, we're here to find the metals for our future. So very excited to talk about these. Mangaroon, so we pegged this ground at the end of 2020, about November. We picked it up for copper and gold, nickel and gold. We very rapidly identified some outcropping pitlandite and chalcopyrites, very high tenor, got into a joint venture with First Quantum. Option earn-in, we put in since the last 12 months, we put in 12 drill holes into some outcropping mineralization. We've hit mineralization in 9 out of 12 holes. It's indicated to First Quantum that, and to us, that we have a very active, high tenor magmatic nickel copper PGE sulfide system at the Money Intrusion. Extremely encouraging. They recently exercised their option, and they will be spending $12 million to earn their first 51% interest to find a massive sulfide deposit. And we'll be hoping to kick off some EM surveys out there come October with an aim to deliver drill targets by the end of the year. But what's really driving our share price at the moment, and has for the last couple of months, is that we've kicked off our exploration and discovery work on the rare earths right next door to Hastings Yangibana operation. We have significant second mover advantage. Hastings has been doing some fantastic work for the last 12, 14 years, next door de-risking that project to become the next rare earth producer here in Australia. They has got a capital raise underway, funded to get into production. So we have a lot of good relationship with them, very exciting region, and we're looking forward to continue our work out there. So talk about the rare earths there. It's a large scale opportunity. Up there in the blue, that's Hastings tenements. You'll see they recently put out a map of the 42 strike kilometers of known ironstones on their ground, which they've been working on for over the last decade. You have LNR, Lanthinian, formerly Frontier, with Lion 12 and Lion 11, and us, Dreadnoughts, very evolving. This time last year, there was probably about 1 to 2 kilometers of outcrop at Yin and a little bit at Y3. And as we've advanced our drilling, advanced our exploration, advanced our work, we've now identified 16 strike kilometers of ironstones at Yin. The Sabre trend, especially another 2 to 3 strike kilometers there, Y8, and we expect to see a lot more ironstone mineralization come from this. But one of the things that's most exciting about this and about this region is it's part of a larger system. It's bigger than the ironstones by itself. And you look at the classical model, there's a very simplified diagram down here. When you have a carbonatite plug intrude into a region, usually up to crustal scale structures. Here, that's the Lions River Fault. You form a series of mineralized radial dikes, and you also form a series of mineralized cone sheets. And what you see, if you map up all of Hastings ironstones and the ironstones that we have to date, you have that Yangibana West, Bald Hill, Simons Fine, Fraser's Trend, coming around Yin the other way. They're all dipping back in towards C1 to C5. That's forming up to be a really nice example of the cone sheet. And you also have like our and the other mineralization dikes shooting out from that. As we're starting to see, and as this evolves, all roads lead to Rome. All the mineralized dikes, all the ironstones that are out here are pointing back to these carbonatites. The pads are prepped. We got the drill rig finishing up at Sabre and Y8. By the end of this month, we'll be starting drilling C1 to C7, C1 to C5 by the end of this year, also C6 and C7. We could have not only the other half of Hastings Yangibana operation, which is coming into production and economic in its own right, we could also have the potential for a mountain pass or a Linus Mount Weld style of mineralization within C1 to C5. So not only could we match Hastings, we could actually have the source rare earth intrusions for this entire region that could put this area, the Gascoyne complex in Western Australia, on the map even more so for being a critical metals powerhouse. It's a very exciting time to be here and a very exciting time to be drilling this work. We've drilled 140 holes to date. We have an RC rig on site and a diamond rig on site as we speak. And should we have continued success, we will add a second RC rig to that. The first rare earth ironstones. So June last year, I believe Ross Chandler, Luke Blaze, Nick Chapman on site wanted to go out and kick some rare earth rocks. We reprocessed the government data, identified a small outcrop that we nicknamed Elephant's Foot, and it came back with 12% rare earths. It was pretty spectacular. It was a very exciting moment for us. It was certainly a dream for some of the guys like Luke and Ross who love the rare earths side of the universe. And so from that outcrop in June last year, less than just over 12 months later, we put the first drill holes into this thing. We had no idea what to expect. Hastings Yangibana operation, they averaged 2 to 3 meters thickness. Some of the thickest intercepts they've had in 14 years of drilling was 24 meters at 1.8 at Bald Hill. Our first 6 holes all hit 20 to 30 meters of mineralization, over 3% rare earths. Pretty spectacular, 2 to 3% rare earths on all those intercepts. Absolutely spectacular discovery. There was lots of celebrating on site, and I think I was in the Kimberley at the time with Chappie and the guys were on site, and Crowe was somewhere else in the country, and we had a big celebration. It's not often you actually get to drill something like this, especially in your first drill holes. You know, I've always said, when you're going to focus, when you're going to do something, when we have our Julimar moment, to us at Dreadnought, these first holes are a Julimar moment. And we're very, very excited to be drilling and focus on the rare earths for the next 6 to 12 months. But we didn't stop there. We knew we had mineralization. We knew it was exciting. We've drilled out the full 3 strike kilometers of the first area of Yin. Like I said before, we've extended that Yin trend over 16 kilometers from Interp, and what we've learned to date. We've only drilled 3 of that. We continue to see thick quality mineralization over those 3 kilometers. And we're doing the survey work, getting the approvals in place. And by the end of this year, we'll be drilling the rest of the 16-kilometer trend at Yin. So we believe we have a significant resource potential already at Yin. Those assays are coming through. We have thousands of samples at the lab. We have Lynn Windebar on site. He's already, I think he's on site this week. He did all the original resource work for Hastings. He's going to be doing our resource work here, pulled him out of retirement because he was excited about what we were hitting. And so we will see a very quick turnaround on that resource, and we should have that out this year, our maiden resource within a few months of making the discovery drill holes. And then just this week, we moved on to our second target, formerly known as Y3, and we announced the Sabre discovery. All these radial dikes, it's a bit more steeply dipping. We've worked that out. We've now hit thick rare earth mineralization over 1 kilometer at Y3, now called Sabre. We're moving down, finishing that drilling now, moving down to Y8, and then getting onto the carbonatites. So we have already drilled 2 targets. We've made 2 discoveries, all these assays coming. We will continue to drill the rest of our targets for the rest of this year, rank the best ones up, and go back and deliver resources over the ones that are the most promising. So we will design the resource work on Sabre, but before we go back and start drilling that resource, we will test all of C1, C5, C6, C7, Y8, and the rest to make sure we focus our time on the best targets. That's a bit of our resource work there. So Yen complete. So we'll put that resource out to show that we can produce a nice resource. Then for the next 6 months, it's all about scale, showing the potential for this area and unlocking the full potential. That's going to be really exciting around C1 to C5. Y3 has already made a discovery. Drill C1 to C5. Approval is in place right now for C6, C7, and drill a few more of these targets by the end of the year. We're really going to look forward to showing that this thing has the scale potential of Hastings and potentially that of Mountain Pass or Linus with those C1 to C5 targets. Like I said, pads are prepped. We'll be drilling. We'll find out here very shortly. But beyond that, further upside, so that scale map is that red box in there. When we first got out here, we flew a very large detailed magnetic radiometrics survey. And we still have another 100 targets of coincident thorium anomalies with ironstone rich looking rocks on the surface. And so in addition to Yin, Sabre, Y8, C1 to C5, C6, C7, we have another 100 targets to go look at that could turn into outcropping rare earth mineralization as well. And it's worthwhile pointing out that that is just potential outcropping targets to give us those signals. Yin was originally only 1 to 2 kilometers of outcrop. We've now traced it over 16 kilometers. So as we identify new areas of mineralization, we're going to continue to show the scale potential for this area. That will hopefully show that the Gifford Creek ferrocarbonatite complex is one of the significant rare earth regions of the world. On to the first quantum. We have a 50-kilometer long Jinshuan aged intrusion. We have proven high tenor pentlandite chalcopyrite at surface. We have gossainous horizons. We've drilled that. We see that the system is a slight wiggle on the side of the intrusion at Bukathana, where we put our first drill holes, and that showed that with a slight wiggle on the side of that intrusion, sulfides fall out. Now the hunt is for a bigger wiggle. We're looking for the base of that intrusion. We're looking for that funnel-shaped intrusion forms a nice floor and a better trap site for massive sulfides. So we're looking to do about another 20-30 strike kilometers of ground EM to have a drill target fully funded by First Quantum by the end of this year. Project Yampi, I'll quickly talk about our Kimberley project. This is what floated Dreadnought in the first place. Off limits since 1978. Rory Woodall himself, one of the last people up there at the Taraji area in 1950s. First boots on ground 2019, 2020. Some of the first boots on this ground since 1978. 2021, we made our Orion discovery under just a little bit of cover. There's the happy shot of the guys down there below. 16 meters, 2.2 copper, 38 grams of silver, an ounce of silver, 6.6 grams gold, and 0.4 cobalt. A very exciting copper, cobalt, silver, gold discovery like Western Australia hasn't seen before. This is similar to the mineralization that you see in Cloncurry, like you see in Tennant Creek. This is potentially a new province. We see this as an Evanco style opportunity for us, which our chairman, Paul Chapman, was quite involved with, which got taken over by Oz. So we are looking to fill this pipeline of targets, make additional discoveries, and really build up a cluster of mineralization that will attract the big companies. So for the rest of this year, we have an ongoing auger program. So one of the things that we learned from that Orion discovery is that the thin black plains soil, which masks surface geochemistry, is only 1 to 5 meters thick, not 20 to 30 like we thought. And so we started doing this auger program, experimental, heli-based with OzX, a fantastic group of guys. And we've already identified 6 Orion lookalikes. We've identified gossains with those. Some of them already have EM plates associated with them, completely undrilled. So we already have 6 Orion lookalikes. We also found a Thunderer, more we learn about the area, the more we twist our lithostructural understanding of what controls mineralization. In the last 5 days of the auger program, we reprioritized a lower priority area. It's now called Thunderer because we found 6 new gossinous outcrops that we didn't know about before. So it's very early days, first mover. I've gone to Myanmar and Brazil and the Amazon to get opportunities like this. And to have it here in the tier 1 jurisdiction of Western Australia is certainly exciting. And so our plan, while we're drilling out Mangaroon for the next 6 to 12 months, we have Nick Chapman and myself and Matt Crow will be up in the Kimberley, taking turns, looking after 2 auger rigs, lining up a pipeline of targets so that when we finish drilling at Mangaroon on the rare earths around this time next year, maybe a bit earlier, we can line up, have a full pipeline of targets in the Kimberley to deliver additional copper cobalt discoveries. So we are continuing to be driven by discovery. We have a great track record, have a fantastic team. I reckon I have the best discovery team on the ASX, hardworking, out there, passionate, and well aligned with shareholders to deliver success. So we will be delivering additional discoveries. We have a lot of new assays. We'll be putting out resources. We'll start our scoping studies after that. We have our first quantum fully funded work. We have Orion's friends to come up, and we have some Central Yoga and stuff in the background. So we are here delivering the discoveries for the metals of our future. So thank you very much.
Well done, Dean. Dean Tuck and Dreadnought. All right, team. Meeka Metals. We're turning to gold and rare earth company with a portfolio of high quality projects. Again, we're here in WA. In addition to its 1.1 million ounce mineral resource at the Murchison Gold Project, exploration in the Esperance region has delivered some excellent rare earth results from the Cascade and the Circle Valley projects. This is the managing director. His name is Tim Davidson, and he's here to provide details of the widespread mineralization intersections, correct, to date, and also their upcoming plans. Can you make him welcome?
Thanks very much, Chrissy. And look, it's great to be here, and it's great to be talking about our rare earth projects. We've had amazing success and some really great results come through in the last couple of months from our gold exploration work. But we are very excited by our rare earth opportunities, and we see that in, playing an increasingly valuable role in our portfolio of assets. So great to be here to talk about that. Now, in terms of the board and management team, we've got a board in place that has significant experience and a track record of delivering value for shareholders, building businesses in the resources sector, exploring and discovering, and importantly, building mines. So we've got that breadth of experience. And the final point that I'll make with respect to the board and the management team is that we are well aligned with and have invested with shareholders along the way. We've put $2.2 million of our own money into the company, and our immediate families have put significantly more than that behind the business and backing us to deliver. So we're well aligned with the rest of the shareholder group, and we want to have success both in discovery and developing our assets, but also building value for shareholders. Just quickly on the capital structure. So on the close price from yesterday, we have a market cap of around $65 million. We've got a strong cash position. What that means is that we're able to go and deliver on what we say we're going to do, which is drilling throughout the course of this year into next year, both on the gold and the rare earths, and we're well funded to do that. Now, if you look at what underpins the value of our business, an enterprise value of around $55 million, we've got 1.1 million ounces of gold in the Murchison. I'm not going to talk about that today, but if you look at value in the business on the gold resource alone, it works out to be about $50 a resource ounce. So we're really cheap, and we don't think that there's any value ascribed to the opportunity we see in the rare earth space, and it is a significant opportunity. So what we're seeing at our rare earth projects in southern WA, at Circle Valley and at Cascade, is a province scale opportunity. And Dean just spoke of provinces and the opportunity of the province scale opportunity in the north that they're seeing. Well, we see that in our tenements at Cascade and Circle Valley, over 2,500 square kilometres of tenure. It's 100% owned. It's very fertile geology for this clay style rare earth mineralisation. We see that where we've got drilling, this clay horizon is pervasive across the tenure. It's very high grade. So it's obviously very fertile. There's a significant number of targets where we've got high grade surface samples that haven't been drill tested yet. So it's a very exciting opportunity. And importantly, we've done some first pass met that has delivered positive results, extraction results. So that's another important thing. Now, Eddie from Argonaut's going to be really disappointed with me, but I need to talk a little bit about the supply demand side of the market and why we see these rare earth projects of ours as being so valuable. So I'll quickly touch on that. And rare earths are used in glass and ceramics in the automotive industry, phosphors, but importantly in electric vehicles and renewable energy generation. So in the electric permanent magnets that go into the electric motors for electric vehicles, and in the turbines for wind power generation. So that's really important, because those two things are really going to drive the rare earth market moving forward over the next 5 to 10 years. Specifically with respect to the electric vehicles, the electric vehicle fleet is forecast to grow at 20% over the per annum, compounding over the next 4 years, and then 10% per annum after that. By 2040, you're going to see more electric vehicles within the global car fleet, passenger car fleet, than you are going to see of diesel and petrol. So that's a significant driver behind the rare earths magnet metal market. Every electric vehicle uses about 2 to 5 kilos of permanent magnets. About 30% of that weight is in the magnet rare earth elements. So neodymium, praseodymium, the two key ones, dysprosium and terbium. So those 4 elements. Wind turbines, every megawatt of installed capacity uses about 650 kilos of permanent magnets. Again, it's about 30% of that weight is in rare earth elements, those magnet metals, NdPr principally, and a bit of dysprosium and terbium. So from a wind power perspective, that installed capacity is forecast to grow at about 25% per annum over the next 10 years. And I don't think anyone sees that slowing down after that horizon. So really, when we look at the rare earth market, there's 15 elements that make up that basket of rare earths that we're exploring for. Really, the valuable ones are those magnet metals, and principally neodymium and praseodymium, the NdPrs there. So that's going to be the drivers behind the market. And just touching on the market, so what's economic drivers for projects is going to be those magnet metals. Why is that? Well, the value of those magnet metals, they make up 23% of the volume of the market, but they account for 95% of the value of the rare earth market presently. That's forecast to grow to about 30% of the volume by 2030 and about 99% of the value of the rare earth market. So that's why they're so important, and that's why they're so valuable. Now, just to talk about where we see prices going, and this goes to the value of what we see in our projects. So in the next 5 years, we're going to see, best case scenario, existing production continues at its current pace, and all of the planned and currently in development projects get built and start producing at their forecast run rate. That's the best case scenario. We still end up in 5 years' time with a 15% supply demand deficit for those magnet metals. Worst case scenario is some of those production sources get deferred, or some of those projects that get put into production get deferred, and some of those currently producing assets fall away. In that scenario, you end up with a significantly higher deficit from a supply side. What does that mean in terms of prices? Well, if you look at the price appreciation for those magnet metals over the last 3 years, so 2019, 2020, or 21, you see, in the best instance, a 200% price appreciation. And in the case of terbium, you're seeing over 400% price appreciation. And that's in a market where you've got supply and demand imbalance. And we're talking about over the next 5 years, that supply-demand balance falling away and having a significant supply deficit. So I hope that sort of frames why we see so much value in our projects in the rare earth space, and particularly given the high percentage of magnet metals in our rare earth projects. The other point that I'll quickly make is we don't see increased prices dampening demand, and the reason for that is because when you look at the value of those magnet metals as a part of the overall cost of, for instance, an electric vehicle, it makes up about 1% of the cost. So a significant increase in the price of those magnet metals doesn't change materially the price of that electric vehicle. So specifically moving to our projects now, and we are in a tier 1 jurisdiction. I know everyone talks about that, but Western Australia really is a fantastic place to operate. We've got skills in exploration and putting projects into production. There's a huge supply of people and equipment to go and do that, with the skills to do that. And we've got a team in place that can do that. So tier 1 location, we've got a significant land holding, 2,500 square kilometres. It's a province scale opportunity. We own that project, or both those projects, 100%. We're not in joint venture. We don't share ownership. We've got excellent access to infrastructure. So the South Coast Highway runs directly through our Cascade project. The Coolgardie Esperance Highway runs directly adjacent to our Circle Valley project. There's significant renewable energy in place. So when we look at what's going to power a potential mine and processing facility in the region, there's existing wind power yet at Esperance and around Esperance, existing solar, so that capacity is there. It's abundant, it's renewable, and it's available. Very fertile geology, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the coming slides when I show you some of the drill results. But we've got high grade, pervasive clay horizons that extend across the entirety of our tenure at Circle Valley, where we've completed drilling, and at Cascade, where we've drilled across 1,000 square kilometres with reconnaissance style drilling within a 2,300 square kilometre package at Cascade. And finally, and importantly, first pass network that demonstrates that we can achieve a positive extraction, a reasonably strong extraction of those rare earth metals using a weak acid leach. There's a lot more work that we need to do from a metallurgical perspective, but it's an important first step and something that we can work to refine. So then talking specifically about Circle Valley. So Circle Valley, and admittedly, we went to Circle Valley looking for gold. That was the reason we went down there. The reconnaissance drilling that we did and the geochemistry we saw in that multi-element work that we're doing looking for gold highlighted the fact that we had very high levels of those magnet metals in that clay horizon. We sent those samples away for multi-element work at the lab. That came back and demonstrated that the full suite of rare earth elements were there, very high grades and a very high percentage of the valuable magnet metals. And key to those, or within those basket of magnet metals, the neodymium and praseodymium elements. Those two elements really drive the economics of rare earth projects. We're seeing roughly 23% on average in our drilling, where we're seeing that high grade mineralization. So very high proportion of those magnet metals, and a potential upside in scandium, which isn't included in the grades that we report, but is a potentially highly valuable additional product or byproduct of the work that we do in any development scenario for rare earths. Now, moving from Circle Valley to Cascade, this is a project that we picked up. We pegged it ourselves after identifying the rare earths at Circle Valley. We went and looked for other areas that displayed similar geological traits and had existing drilling. That was, we found that at Cascade and pegged that ground. That was December through February of this year. The drilling that we've got at Cascade, and this project has significant scale. It's 10 times the size of Circle Valley. Circle Valley's slightly over 200 square kilometres. This is 2,300 square kilometres. That southern corridor extends 100 kilometres east to west, to give you an idea of the scale that we're talking about. It's 65 kilometres of tenure north to south. We've got reconnaissance style drilling along that southern corridor, so 100 kilometre corridor. That's about 1,000 square kilometres. Kilometre spacing between the holes. It shows that the clay horizon is present across the entirety of that tenure. It's not all mineralized with high-grade mineralization, but very large areas of that tenure are mineralized with very high-grade mineralization. We've got grades up to 2 times the highest grade that we see at Circle Valley. So you can see on the slide there, nearly 5,800 ppm. So very high grade when you consider clay-type rare earth mineralization globally. And importantly, again, very high grades of those important NdPr elements that really drive the economics of projects. And why we're so excited by Cascade is that where we've got drilling in the southern corridor, that's an enormous scale. It's really a remarkable scale. We don't have any drilling in the north, but we're very encouraged by the surface samples. Sorry, I'll just talk quickly about what the mineralization looks. So we're in the southern area where we have got drilling. We're seeing shallow mineralization. It's very thick. It's quite often stacked mineralization. There's multiple horizons of mineralization, very high grades from a clay perspective. And again, when you're looking at this slide, bear in mind that this has got significant vertical exaggeration. So those holes are 1 kilometre apart. The mineralization hasn't been closed off anywhere. We've only done reconnaissance style drilling, and it's very encouraging. Now, something that we're getting very excited by is, and this is the surface sampling that I was talking about in the northern and central parts of Cascade. So this is around 1,000 square kilometres. It's never been drilled. the surface samples that we've got indicate very high grade mineralization at surface. And the reason that's very important is because when you look at the distribution of grades within a clay rare earth type mineralized system, generally you get a depleted zone at surface and an accumulation of high grade mineralization at depth. What we're seeing here is we're seeing grades up to 633 ppm at surface. Again, a high proportion of those NdPr magnet metals, and this has never been drilled. So very excited. Really important target for us is that southern cluster of very high grade results. That's about 25 kilometers east to west by 10 kilometers north to south. So when I say scale, we really do have both scale in terms of project scale, but also the targets that we're looking at are significant in their own right. Now, briefly touching on the metallurgy, really important first pass results for us. It demonstrates that we can leach these metals using a weak acid. We get very good recoveries. There's still a lot of work we need to do to refine the acid concentration we use when we do that leach work, and other work that we want to do to upgrade some of those upstream mineral processing activities that we can do to concentrate the mineralization before we leach it. But as a first pass, very important step for us and very positive. And then just finally, touching on the work programs that we've got in front of us for the next 18 months. Again, a lot of work on the gold, and the gold is looking very exciting, both the discoveries we've made in the Murchison outside of our existing resources, but also at Circle Valley, where we initially went for gold. The very first hole we drilled at Circle Valley was an RC hole. The very first RC hole we drilled in January of this year, hit 23 meters at 5 grams. It's the first RC drill hole ever drilled on that tenure. So lots of work on the gold, but that's not going to slow us down on the rare earths. Key to the work plans for the rare earths are that MET program, improving our understanding of the metallurgy, developing a flow sheet, and also drilling out both reconnaissance drilling in that northern target at Cascade, as well as resource definition drilling at Circle Valley, where we've got a significant amount of existing drilling and really a strong understanding of the mineralization. So thanks very much for your time, and I'm happy to talk more about it at our booth.
Right on. Thanks, Tim. Yes, and we do have those opportunities to speak out there at the booth. Strategic Energy Resources. They are, and I love when I have to say this one, specialised undercover explorer. I know what it does mean, but it always sounds something a little bit double entendre when I say it. Specialised undercover explorer and project generator focused on discovery in the greenfield frontiers of Australia. SER is actively exploring the undercover extensions of the world-class Mount Isa province in northwest Queensland, the Cobar Basin, and also the Lachlan Fold Belt down in New South Wales and the emerging East Tennant region in the Northern Territory. This is their MD. His name is Dr. David DeTata, and he is here to introduce SER's story. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Chrissy, and thank you all. Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. It's great that you've all stuck around long enough to hear about Strategic Energy Resources. And given that SER is probably not on the watch lists of most of you, I thought I'd start by explaining our exploration strategy and then walk you through our major greenfield projects while highlighting the news flow to come in the next 9 months. Look, I'll start with this image taken from drill hole CNDD001A, which forms part of a 132-metre intersection grading at 0.1% nickel, which included a 2-metre intersection grading 0.68% nickel from 507 metres at our Kenobi project drilled in December last year. This represents our exploration space, deep undercover, where Australia's next Tier 1 discovery will be found. We have a science-driven approach to exploration and a pipeline of greenfield projects that maximises our chance of success. Get this to work. Perfect. Standard disclaimer for everyone. We are a junior exploration company, and this also appears on the website and on the ASX platform. What is SER? We are a specialised undercover explorer, there we go, project generator, focused on discovery in the greenfield exploration frontiers of Australia. We're currently exploring across 4 major greenfields projects, which all have one thing in common. They're all located along the undercover extensions of known mineralised terrains. Quite simply, what does that mean? It means that if you follow the same controlling structures that occur on our projects back towards areas of shallower cover, the amount of dirt on top is less, you'll find significant mineral deposits. The first 2 projects are located amongst the most heavily mineralised rocks in the world in Queensland and form part of our Isa Undercover initiative. And these are the Kenobi and then Isa North projects. And note the significant mineral deposits that are close by to where we are currently operating. Third is in New South Wales. We're also chasing known mineralisation undercover at our South Cobar project, which lies a long strike from the Browns Reef polymetallic deposit and also captures an extension of the Achilles Shear. And a fourth project, which is truly a greenfields project to be started in 2019, is between Mount Isa and East Tennant region in Northern Territory. Greenfields projects by nature are hideously expensive and they are remote. We understand that. And along with traditional capital raisings to fund exploration, we continue to generate new projects which we divest to fund future exploration. We'd like to enter into JVs. The one project that we have currently under JV is with Fortescue Metals Group. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. And we pursue co-funding grants. And that's a major way for a junior company like us to get into a greenfields region and undertake exploration at a lower cost. And so far, we've managed to jag 5 of them. Over $600,000 is money that we've brought into the company to fund exploration that we haven't had to go to shareholders. Corporate structure, we have a young and energetic board represented by Stuart Regner as Executive Chairman, also a Non-Executive Director of Kingston Resources. Anthony McIntosh, who's on the Director of a number of listed and unlisted companies across Australia, formerly on the board of Echo Resources before it was bought out by Northern Star in 2019. A geological team, very small unit between Neil Chalmers and Dr. Chris Yates. Neil brings the youth and experience in project generation, while Dr. Chris Yates is the foremost expert in New South Wales geology and the ex-director of the survey. 284 million shares on offer. You'll note we don't have much cash. That is deliberate. The last capital raise we did last month, we only opened it to shareholders that were current. We had directors and major shareholders tipping some money in to keep us going through our next exploration campaign. And that's a result of the hideous structure that's out there for anyone who's a junior who wants to raise money, but also endorsement of our strategy. If our major shareholders, including the board, are willing to put in money at a time like this, you know there's a reason to. And some of you may recognize DAC Capital as one of our major shareholders. Long-time supporter of the company since 2020, understands our strategy, and he's in there for the exact reason the shareholders wanted to put more money in the recent round. They understand the projects and the strategy behind us. On to our first projects in Kenobi, located 150 kilometres northeast of Cloncurry, capturing a 100-kilometre north-south swathe of the Quamby Fault, which can be traced all the way back along the Mount Margaret Fault to a small mine called Ernest Henry. In 2016, we acquired the Lucky Squid project, a high-grade gold hits from Falcon Minerals, projecting a number of high-grade gold intercepts, including 17 metres at 6.7 and 15 metres at 9.09 grams per tonne gold. In 2019, we entered into the project with a view of connecting the dots. In fact, we did. We managed to return high-grade gold, 6 metres at 12 grams per tonne from 519 metres. At that point, we decided there's something more here than just Lucky Squid and took the punt on a 2,000 square kilometre tenure, expanding north and south, capturing not only Lucky Squid, but also the Tea Tree prospect, which had some evidence of nickel. We went back to extend the strike, fortunately we weren't unable to, but the 2,000 kilometres that we had pegged was worthy of follow-up. So we turned our attention to the Kenobi domain more broadly and went back through some of the historical results. And it turns out nickel's in the system. This is an area that's not traditionally known for nickel, but we were focused on determining whether or not that is real. And in 2008, the drilling to intersect by Anglo-American 10.4 metres at 0.28% nickel. Not high grade, but where there's nickel, there's more nickel. So in fact, numerous drill holes in prominent geophysical features returned significant nickel intercepts, which last year allowed us to then go ahead and peg not only that area, but increase the area that is in the surrounding tea tree and apply for some co-funding. And that co-funding was to test a magnetic feature away from the high-grade gold towards the tea tree nickel. And in fact, those two drill holes are responsible for that photo on the first page. That 132 metre intersection grading 0.1% nickel in the first hole and 43 metres intersecting 0.1% nickel in the second hole. Since December last year, the whole project's been viewed through a nickel lens and a revised geological model has been established. A key finding of the gravity highs, which are the red in this image, is mapping the intrusive body hosting nickel. And as far as analogies go, we're drawing comparisons from the Fraser Range Nova Bolligen deposit to put this project into some form of geological perspective. Last month, we completed a gravity survey covering the region north of Tea Tree, and we anticipate the enhanced resolution of the gravity data will translate in identification of more prospective areas for a follow-up drill campaign. Our second Greenfields project is located 200 kilometres north of Mount Isa and captures over 80 kilometres of the Mount Gordon Fault, host to the Capricorn mineral deposits held by 29Metals, which was the biggest IPO last year. Currently, when it IPO'd, it was $1 million. It's come back slightly since then. The Isa North project was held by Newcrest since 2021, when we acquired the project for zero cash, with Newcrest maintaining a first right of refusal and a 1% NSR across the project in case we come across some exploration success. When we acquired the project, we're all out on our own, but as you can see, what's consistent with our Greenfield strategy is the moment we take entry into a certain region, we are quickly followed by majors. And in this case, we were quite happy to see Fortescue Metals Group join us, Rio join us, and Anglo American join us around this project. The project itself was previously held by Newcrest, as mentioned, and they did 4 targets worth of testing over 5,000 metre drill program. Of the 4 targets tested, the Lorraine North target stood out with copper enrichment zone and interpreted tier 1 halo, intercept indicating proximal to a hydrothermal system. Landholder access proved challenging for Newcrest, and at that point, unable to secure landholder access in that region between those 2 horizontal lines, they walked away from the project and we were able to secure it, as I said, I mentioned first, the zero cash up front. SER has gone on to secure landholder access across Nadu Station earlier this year. We're set on completing additional gravity surveys and magnetic surveys before we go in and test the whole area. Our neighbours to the north, Red Metal, had success last year with a copper intersection at GTK 2101, which borders the northern area of our tenement. And we look forward to them drilling more copper-related intersections and helping us in our strive for understanding what's happening on in the region. Our third project, again consistent undercover extensions of known mineralised terrains, is in the Cobar Basin in New South Wales, a proven mineral region with recent discoveries including Aurelia Metals Federation deposit. The South Cobar project captures the undercover extensions of the Wara Fault to the east, which hosts the Browns Reef polymetallic deposit and historical workings including the Ural mine, which was last worked in 1934. The most advanced of the targets on our project area is the Achilles 1 prospect, which was originally identified by Santa Fe Mining via soil sampling program, and a strong copper anomaly was later followed up with shallow drilling in 1998 by Savage Minerals, returning anomalous base metal values. Then in 2005, Western Plains came on, decided to drill 2 drill holes at the Achilles prospect. One of the holes didn't reach basement. The second hole drilled proximal to the Achilles 1, returned some interesting copper numbers, 64 metres, averaging 0.1% copper. Since acquiring the project, SER has completed a detailed magnetic survey across the entire project, as you can see in this image here. And earlier this year, we completed a soil geochem survey over the most advanced and accessible target at the Achilles 1 prospect. In preparing for drilling, we applied for and received another New South Wales exploration grant to complete the diamond drill program, and currently planning is well advanced to get on ground later this year to test the Achilles 1 prospect. There's plenty of news flow from our neighbours, with AGC intersecting 85 metres at 0.13% copper at Achilles 3, which lies north on the same Achilles shear. And also Eastern Metals, who continue to return multiple mineralised intersections at the Brown Reef deposit, which flanks the eastern side of the project area. Our fourth Greenfields project is located within the highly prospective but underexplored region between the major copper gold districts of East Tennant and Mount Isa. We're lured into the region following the $100 million commitment by Geoscience Australia and the Northern Territory Geological Survey as part of the Exploring for the Futures program. As a first mover, we quickly secured over 1,300 square kilometres of tenure, hosting numerous gravity and magnetic anomalies in search of Tennant Creek style mineralisation as seen in the high-grade ironstone hosted Tennant Creek deposits. Since grant, we've completed a detailed gravity survey, which is co-funded, and now the region is entirely locked up, and early exploration and success from Counter and Untitled Resources have led us to continue exploration in this region. Last year, we received some co-funding to drill. We were the first junior explorer in this Greenfields region to put a diamond hole in. Fortunately, the results were not outstanding, but we've continued to work on the project and to get better understanding of exactly the best grav and mag targets to target. We've then received a third grant from from NTGS to go on with an IP survey set to start later on this year. There's plenty of news to come from the region. We are one of many in there who took the large punt on such a large greenfields project. There's over 30 holes now in the region. There's assays outstanding for over 10,000 meters worth of core that's been drilled. And we're looking forward to any of the explorers in that region having some form of success. Added bonus for shareholders, and one which has received very little attention from investors, is our farming joint venture with Fortescue Metals Group that was signed back in 2019. This was a different stage for the company back then. We signed the agreement, seeing FMG spending $1.5 million to get to 80%, but including a drilling metric associated with that, and that 1,500 meters worth of drilling. Things have progressed slowly, which is unfortunate for us as a junior, riding off the back of that news flow. To date, only an airborne RAD survey has been completed as native title discussions continue to slumber on. And we do hope that is cleared up later this year so FMG can get on ground and start drilling. This is what the next 9 months looks for SER across our 4 greenfields projects. In summary, Kenobi, we've completed the ground's gravity program, announced later this month when we have final data. We turn our attention to the geophysical model and then drill targeting across that project. At Isa North, one of the 2 landholder notifications have been completed, and we look forward to drill targeting and then eventually getting into drilling later on in the next 12 months. IP survey still ahead of us in East Tennant, and we also, on the back of that, wait for Mile Creek to get on ground and start exploration. So why invest in SER? SER is committed to targeting tier 1 discoveries undercover, which takes a science-driven approach and strong collaborations with multiple agencies to make that happen. Today, I've only focused on 4 of our major greenfields projects, all of them located along the undercover extensions of known mineralized terrains. But what's not being covered today is some of the other projects that sit in our pipeline that are eager to continue divesting or to continue working up to the point they come divestable. With that, I hope I've held your attention long enough. And if we weren't on your watch list before, we are a very low market cap with a tight capital structure. And I hope you take the opportunity to look into us further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. David. Thank you very much. Hey, our next presentation today, well, I want to have a chat with Jamie Fox outside, who's the new CFO at Galan Lithium. And he was prepared to step up and do it. But those of you who know JP from Galan Lithium will know how passionate he is about this particular project. Once we opened the borders up at the end of last year, he was off and he was exploring the project, seeing what was happening over in Argentina. So he's over there at the moment. He's doing a bit of team building over there and also building within the community so that they have some great relationships with the community as they go forward with the project. But he wanted to record the message for each day, to record the actual presentation for you personally, but he also wants to remind you that his team is out there and they would like to speak to you. So please put your hands together for Galan Lithium's presentation today.
And thank you for attending the New World Metals. Unfortunately, I am not in Perth today, but I'm in Argentina. I'm very pleased to be here to show you a bit of a project and just tell you what the updates are in exciting Hombre Muerto West and Candela's development, and also what we've been doing a bit in Green Bushes. But I just want to say thanks for attending, and I'm really sorry I can't be there. We are quite busy here in Argentina. We are advancing the project with my whole team, and we're all very aligned and excited to see where this can get. And it's this is a bit of a dream, but it's a good dream to have. So with that, I'll go into the presentation to explain the where we are. We're moving this project rapidly into development, and what we're moving is the Hombre Muerto West project. We have 2 projects. One of them is Hombre Muerto West, and the other one is Candelas. Both of them are the sulfate of the Hombre Muerto in Argentina. So why is this different to what we've seen so far in Argentina at the Lithium Triangle? And this is because we have high-grade, low impurities. You don't come across these things naturally, and we have been gifted by nature with this. Grade is king, and explain a bit more as why it's also important. A bit about our company. We have market cap that's been a bit of wobbling lately, but I believe that won't be, it'll be short-lived. We have a lot of news to tell the market and explain where we're at. We have a strong cash position of $54 million. We're deploying that wisely. We are currently drilling because we want to get into our resource update kind of coming up very soon. Our major shareholders funds, and we have also management is well involved and invested in the company, and that's why we all align and getting rapidly into production. So this is a bit about what we said that we'll do and what we've done. So we have proven our resource where no one thought it was possible. We have increased our resource, and we are in a good classification for our resource, which is indicated. We're drilling to move that indicated into measured, and that measured will be the base for the maiden reserve statement coming out of our DFS that is hatched. It is currently performing, coming up late this year or maybe a little bit early on the next quarter. So this is a roadmap that we've been able to walk even with COVID in between. So I'm very proud of my team in Argentina and Chile and the support that the board has been giving to us since day one. So that I'm really pleased with where we're at, and because it's a team effort. So what do we have? 6 points. A world-class location. We have compelling economics that I will explain later on. Sustainable supply, low energy, low carbon footprint. We are moving this project rapidly into delivery to become the next producer in Argentina. And I can tell that we're moving faster than the major companies in here. So I'm very pleased where we're at. Now, we also have a strong team. I would like to say that we have a strong board, but our team in Argentina executing this has been fantastic. I joke around about the company being, the guys being called XQM, because there is so much involvement from the old guys at SQM that have been working for years and years, that have the experience, they got the tears, sweat, and blood, and coming out of the experience. So these guys, they really know what they're doing. So with that, we have also a project pipeline with Candelas, and then with hopefully with a discovery, fingers crossed, there's work to be done at Greenbushes South in Australia, in Western Australia. So a bit of more where we are located in South America. We have the Lithium Triangle. We are our neighboring galaxy. So we get our neighboring POSCO, we neighboring the old galaxy, which is Allkem and Livent. Interesting enough, POSCO, when they did the transaction 2019, they paid $280 million. That today is considered something very cheap. So with $1 billion transactions that have been happening in the market, this shows how important the lithium sector is. And POSCO took a bargain done back then in 2019, if you look at on today's eyes. Livent has been producing lithium carbonate for close to 30 years now. So we are a part of the world that is well known for the high grade, low impurities and good lithium in the area. So where are we? This is a satellite picture explaining our tenements. You have Livent in red, POSCO to the northeast in white, Allkem in yellow to the south, and then we have Candelas to the south of Allkem, and Hombre Muerto West is the puzzle of all these properties in the western part of the salt flat. So we have enough ground for evaporation, we have enough ground for doing what we said we'll do without intervening anyone else or asking for any easement to develop this project. So we are in a very good part of the world, and we can do this ourselves and stand in 2 legs. And this is very important because it doesn't look like it's that big. It is fantastically a massive project, but we have enough ground to do what we say we do in our tenements. So going back to the geology and the grade that I was mentioning, grade is key. And you can see where Hombre Muerto West is sitting with our projects in Argentina. And this is a key thing because the lower the impurities that you have, the less work you have to do to remove them. So we've been gifted by nature with high grade, low impurities. Therefore, our operating costs should be competitive. Therefore, also our pumping from our wells should be very reasonably better than anyone else in Argentina for that very reason. So it's not the same thing to pump brine that is below 200 milligrams per liter compared to 900 milligrams per liter, even though our recovery, its as evaporation could be less and other new technologies are coming around. That doesn't stop the fact that we'll be pumping less brine out of the ground and not even thinking about re-injecting a large amount of brine back into a system that may not be able to tolerate that back. And so this is important. We are drilling, we have flow tests, we have two wells are already running, and we are planning on a third run for the flow test. And everything that we've seen, the drilling, the lithology, the grade, the porosity, and everything else is all ticking boxes. And we'd like to update the market in due course very soon, at the end of this quarter, with the SRK study that's coming up in very soon. So moving into Hombre Muerto West, we have a 100% project owned. We have no JVs, no royalties, no nothing with anyone on a $2 billion project with a price valuation of $18,500 a ton. The current price is plus $70,000 a ton, and it could go, I will dare to say, close to $100,000 a ton in the next few years. Therefore, we want to get to market. We want to get as soon as we can, but we want to do it on a step-by-step basis in a way that we can deliver. So we believe that in the next 3 years' time, we could be the next lithium producer in the Hombre Muerto basin. So what have we done at Hombre Muerto West to get closer to production? We've done we constructed a pilot plant. We'll have results by the end of the year and early next year. This is all part of the DFS study, and we are testing the flow for taking our data into a measured resource to get into a maiden reserve statement that Hatch is doing as part of the study for the definitive feasibility study for Hombre Muerto West. So it's not far away into the future, but everything is moving the right way. So what's next? We go to Candelas. So Candelas itself is very competitive in OPEX, and also it can add more lithium carbonate into our inventory. Currently, we're sitting a combined producing capacity of 34,000 tons a year, and I dare to say that this could be stretched up a bit more now that we're drilling at Hombre Muerto West, and this, fingers crossed, this could get a high production rate. So the combined capacity is 34,000 currently as part of the studies. Both those studies are very competitive, fitting the first half of the cost curve. Hombre Muerto West is what we're delivering, what we're studying, and we believe that we can be a very competitive, which is not far off of what Sal de Vida is doing with Allchem, and not far off of what and also what is being coming out from Olaroz, from the All Orocobre operation. So we believe that we can sit in a very competitive place with our two projects on the track. We have a project that, because we're in brine, we have low energy intensity, and because of that, we have low carbon footprint. And we're doing our own study to come up with our carbon footprint. We're working hard to get the right numbers, and we'll be disclosing that as part of our DFS. So where are we? We are going to deliver a resource update with SRK coming up soon. We're moving ahead, and we've been doing work with our pilot plant, trying to get the right results. And the feasibility study is moving in the right direction. The decision to invest will be sometime next year. And we're also working in parallel, even as today, in defining potential offtakes. And this is something that will come up, but we want to get this right. We don't just want to sugar hit just to get this. We just want to make sure that we can monetize this. Therefore, that's what we are waiting. The market is on our side, and we believe that we'll deliver that. So the team, as you can see here, you can see some of the guys that are based in Perth, and you're familiar with Richard. Richard is a lawyer that works in Argentina as well. Daniel is worked for SPM for 28 years. Chris is a med by background. Terry has been hardly working with Galan, promoting based Perth based, and Raymond has always been an enabler for Galan to be where we are. And needless to say, we cannot do things without people actually doing things. And I would like to highlight that our project managers got more than 20 years experience. Alvaro is a superstar, he's a hydrogeologist coming from SQM. Francisco is based here in Catamarca, and Pablo also as well. And these guys are enablers. The guys, local guys that know what they're doing, they've been in lithium for a long time. and the context and the people and the network has helped us to be where we are today. So lastly, I'd like to say that we have our share in the cake potentially in Greenbush South at the joint venture with Lithium Australia. We have pegmatites that we're finding anomalies in soil. We keep moving forward with more work on geophysics, on soil sampling, and we'll move into drilling as soon as we finalize doing all the ground and targeting of new areas that we are finding. Pegmatites are copper at surface, and this is our ongoing work, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we may have a discovery. And this is of the relevance because we are south of the Greenbushes mine, and this is also very exciting. We've got a team dedicated to do so. In a nutshell, just to finalize where we are, we got world-class location, we got the money to do the studies and to do early works. We got compelling economics assets, even with low pricing. We got sustainable supply, low carbon footprint. We got a rapid product delivery, and I'm committed here to spend most of my time now in Argentina to make this happen. Our team is also very strong. I'll say that we differentiate from people that we are in lithium because we've got such a vast experience with the people that are doing this work. And the brick pipeline from Candelas and potentially from Greenbushes South could be something very exciting. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Please talk to my team that is at the booth, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, JP. All right, the technologies of our next presenter, Neometals, particularly those in battery materials recycling and recovery, reduce reliance on traditional mining and processing, and they support circular economic principles. Chris Reid is the Managing Director of Neometals. He's very, very passionate about what they do. You should have heard some of the very colourful language that he used to describe how fabulous he thinks what they're doing is. Can he add value in the world of recycling and add value to our investment portfolios? Let's make him welcome and find out. Please put your hands together.
Thank you very much, Chrissy, and thanks to Vertical Events and Argonaut for sponsoring. Had you been a Neometals shareholder, your average shareholder return over the last 7 years is 70%. So the answer to your first question has been yes. Greener battery materials is what we're all about. Yes, we are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange and the AIM market in London. So this basically just says go and speak to the stockbroker, preferably the Argonaut guys as sponsors. If you want to buy any stock, always speak to a licensed investment advisor. So we are actually an emerging battery materials producer. We're making these materials today. We've got 3 core business units: lithium battery recycling, vanadium recovery, and lithium chemicals, underpinned by green proprietary processing technologies that we've developed in Australia and we're commercialising with global partners. A very strong commitment to ESG. You'll find today that you won't find any product that we make that you can get a lower carbon footprint or it's more environmentally friendly. A real focus on continuous development of our technologies and continuing to innovatively commercialise those. And we've got a strong growing team with a track record of value creation and delivery. We've returned more than $82 million worth of shares, dividends and capital buybacks over the last 6 years. So if you want New World metals exposure, try and beat this. So we've got 5 of the top 6 predicted commodity growing stories in our portfolio. And we're turning out a black mass or an intermediate product that's got graphite, lithium, cobalt, and nickel today. Unfortunately, not much of it's in Australia at the moment. We're firmly based offshore. So we've got a lithium battery recycling operation at Hilkenbach in Germany. We're looking to build a new plant for Mercedes-Benz at Kuppenheim in Germany. We're looking to build a plant for Steel Company of Canada or Stelco in Hamilton, just outside of Toronto. Our vanadium recovery project, we're earning into that. That will be based in Pori, Finland. We've got a fantastic site there. And we're looking to commercialise our lithium technology that we co-own with MinRes in Portugal. with Portugal's largest chemical company. And we've only got one asset left in Australia after demerging and returning Widgie Nickel back to its shareholders last year. Today, I'm only going to focus on the lithium-ion battery recycling. I've got 15 minutes, otherwise I'm going to blow your mind. So we own 100% of the technology. SMS Group will own 50% of interest in that very, very shortly. And we're commercializing the technology through a German incorporated company called Primobius GmbH. SMS Group, for those that don't know, are a 150-year-old plant builder, 14,500 employees in 95 sites around the world. So they're our delivery arm. So why are we in battery recycling? You know, we developed Mount Marion with Minres Ganfeng. We did a stage sellout. We moved into battery recycling in 2016. It was unpopular, but we were very, very firm believers that there were going to be a big transition to EVs. They need batteries to go into the EVs. They make production scrap. They're all learning how to make batteries in these volumes. So if we look at the typical lithium battery mega factory, you know, we have a look at Elon's Nevada Gigafactory. At steady state production, they'll produce about 10% scrap. In the early years, it took them 5 years to get below 20% scrap, but the 10% production scrap, that's what feeds our 50 tonne or 20,000 tonne per annum plant. We then have a plan to scale that up by a factor of 10 to accommodate the 90% that make themselves into EVs that come back at the end of life. The image on your right there just shows that, yes, production scrap is a predominant part of the projected pool for recycling feed, but that end of life and warranty returns are catching up pretty quickly and will be, you know, the large part of the volume going forward. So in the short term, we need immediate capacity. In the long term, we really have to have a scale solution, and that's what we do. You know, we're in this recycling because we can make really, really good economic returns for our shareholders. We have a ton of these EV batteries, NMC 811 variety is the same as having a ton of ore delivered to a concentrator that's 15% nickel, 15% copper, 2% cobalt, and 2% lithium. And at the moment, we're getting paid to take it. So you can't lose money, which is fantastic. So we've designed a hydromet refinery because we can't burn the stuff like most of our competitors do. The laws won't allow that when the new battery regulations come in Europe in 2025. So we developed a hydromet refinery to produce cobalt sulfate, nickel sulfate, lithium sulfate, and copper. So we created this safe, sustainable process, right? It's fire risk to store these batteries. We've seen them catch on fire. We've got to reduce the greenhouse footprint of all of the battery materials, right? Because what happens if you don't is that these EVs have twice the carbon footprint of a normal combustion engine car, right? As soon as they roll off. And it takes you about 7 years to try to catch up and be a net benefit for the world. So we're trying to make that much more rapid by using recycled materials because, you know, we basically absolve it of its carbon sins once we stick it in our plant. There's no mining. And it delivers, you know, we can strip out 95% of the carbon out of the footprint and become a net benefit to the world very, very quickly. So we developed this safe, sustainable process. And if you want to doubt how economically or environmentally sustainable it is, we made the finals of the German National Sustainability Award for 2022. So you can trust the German government. So this is our plant at Hilkenbach at the moment, the little one up on the top right that can do a bit over 1 tonne an hour. We're only licensed to run it at about 10 tonnes a day. So stage one that we call our shredding spoke. So we take the batteries there, we feed them in, they get shredded, turned into a black mass. And, you know, these Germans, like, we had this before we built this. They built that exactly the same. It's unbelievable. It actually looks better in real life than the video. And then what we do with the black mass that we store at the bottom there is we essentially take that, put it into sulfuric acid and sequentially strip out the base metal sulfates. I've got to speed this thing up. It's too slow. But take my word for it. So there's a strong rationale for us to get into the market quickly and to scale up. So when we have a look at the shredding spoke on the left-hand side, we make this black mass. It's a powdered graphite, nickel, cobalt, manganese, lithium, and we can sell it. So if you assume we get paid 50% for the nickel and the cobalt, the returns, the recovered revenues are just there on the left. And the real value for us and our customers is in actually closing the loop and producing the products that they can then go and make new batteries with. And that's in the adding the refinery hub. So we want to first deploy the spokes, and then the construction crews move on to the refinery hub so that you can make money while you're building the refinery, and then you just make more money. In terms of how competitive our process is, if I take 100% of the site costs and I only take off the cobalt credit, nothing else, divided by the nickel tons, we're the new lowest cost nickel producer in the world. So therefore our job's just to do deals and build more capacity. And that's what we're doing. We've got flexible business models. The small plant that I showed you before, 10 tons a day, theoretically can go to 25 tons a day. We're actually getting paid to shred these batteries. It's fantastic. So we get sort of 1,500 to 1,650 euros a ton to take these cells and modules out of the cars, and we get to keep the products and sell them. So it's a fantastic business. That's not going to last forever. So as we scale up, then we have to share money with the people that provide the feed. And so we've done deals so that we can build plants in time in joint ventures. And then as we start to get to the super large volumes, because end of life, 10 years, 12 years, whatever, and to deliver the lowest total cost of recycling to the car makers, we will just have to build them plants and license. And for some of them, we'll migrate between the different business models. Europe and North America are our key markets. Like China's the biggest producer of batteries at the moment, so it follows that that's the biggest producer of battery cells. I'm not all that keen on going to China and putting my shareholders' money in there. I don't speak Chinese. I'm not Chinese. It's going to be difficult. Europe and North America are certainly somewhere that we are much more familiar with, and they're fantastic markets. So if I look at Europe, in 2026, they're going to need about 250, some of the estimates are 350,000 tonnes of shredding capacity. Last year, the installed capacity for our competitors, all added up, was about 70,000 tonnes over about 15 plants. It's now a bit over 100,000 tonnes, but who can deliver these big slugs of volume? And that's us. So in the short term, we'll get plenty of production scrap, and then you start to see the big hockey stick at the end. And that's all the end of life stuff. So that's all the cars that you sell in 2021, and they're starting to come back in 2030. In terms of our commercial pipeline, we've got an operation in Germany, a 10-ton spoke. We are doing the front-end engineering for Mercedes-Benz. So we announced a deal. I'll get into that in the next slide. Looking at building a 50-ton integrated operation for a steel company in Canada. Initially, we've licensed them. We've got a buy-in option into that joint venture. And we're finalising studies on a 50-ton integrated operation. We'll deliver that in stages. So the first stage will be for the spoke, followed by the hub. And we've got an MOU with Itochu to deploy one of these into Japan. And this is just the public pipeline. You obviously can't see the private one. And so this is a video that was released by Mercedes when they daylighted that we'd been selected as their technology partner for recycling on the 31st of March this year. I thought it was quite strange because they hadn't signed the agreement, but they assured me that we had signed our side of the agreement, so they were comfortable daylighting it. I said, mate, you do whatever you want to do. I'll just have to make an announcement on the stock exchange. So yeah, it was a 16-month process, global competition to be picked as the technology partner. That's our plant that they're advertising there. That's their cells going into it. This is where we separate stuff. You know, we put that black mass into the acid and then we take out the individual products. All nice, different colors, all the colors of the rainbow, and plenty of money. So it's fantastic. You know, we've got one of the only ore bodies that's growing every day, and with the scarcity in prices, the prices are going up. So we're Steel Company of Canada. We basically want to build one of their old steel plants at Hamilton. Essentially, they're going to transition from blast furnaces to electric arc furnaces to produce greener steel. They need steel scrap from the cars. More cars are going to be electric. What do they do with the batteries? Pass them over to our joint venture. So that's a fantastic business. And then we're looking at our own plant in Germany. Why Germany? Well, in Europe, Germany's going to have the most gigafactories, right? They make the best cars pretty much. And hence we're studying building one down at Kaiserslautern. Essentially, you know, it'll be 200,000 tons per annum. We'll have inbound storage, discharging, disassembly, shredding, separation, and a refinery. And so these are our products. We make plants with our partner, and then we leverage those into joint ventures, or we operate them ourselves, or we have licensing. More is better. I don't want to do it all ourselves. All we want to do is to build as many plants and to get into the market and get the highest penetration rate we can. So those the results for the engineering cost study will be due out. They're due out this month. They won't be that far away. In December, the cost study for the refinery section. Then we're going to offer the plant supply agreements to Mercedes-Benz and Stelco, and then we're off to the races. In terms of sustainability, we're just about to publish our third sustainability report. I mean, if you can find sort of greener technologies, I mean, we're not greenwashing anything. I mean, everything's been purpose designed to be environmentally friendly. Updating LCAs, we've got a growing team. You can trust us on that. Market cap about 800, 90 million in cash and investments, no debt. And, you know, fantastic projects. That's just one today, but within that one technology, there's 5 projects already. There will be many more going forward. So I know we're eating in. Chrissy, she's giving me the eyes, get off stage. So thank you very much for attending, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be around for some questions.
Thank you, Christopher. Go and have a chat with him and find out why he's doing what he's doing. What was the impetus and why he's got this model, because that's really interesting as well. We will take a break. We've got half an hour and then we'll be back here for our last session. I reckon that was a great way to wrap up there too, because we're so hungry for these minerals, but what the heck are we going to do with them? So that is a really interesting take, a solution to the